Functions of state governments. A state government functions more or less like the central government, but its functioning differs from that of the local government. It consists of three branches: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. The state laws are made by the state legislatures, the executive implements the laws, and the judiciary ensures that the laws are protected. The state legislature. There are two types of state legislatures: bicameral, unicameral. Bicameral legislature has both the upper and the lower houses. The upper house is called the Vidhan Parishad or the Legislative Council. Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Jammu and Kashmir, and Andhra Pradesh have bicameral legislature. All other state legislatures are unicameral. The lower house is called the Vidhan Sabha or the Legislative Assembly. The Vidhan Sabha or the Legislative Assembly. The number of members in Vidhan Sabha is fixed by the Parliament in proportion to the population of the state concerned. The qualifications of the members and their tenure are similar to those of the Lok Sabha. The maximum number of members of the Vidhan Sabha of the state can be 500 and minimum 60. But there are, however, special provisions in respect of small states like Goa, Mizoram, Nagaland, and Sikkim. Here, the legislative assemblies have less than 60 members each. They vary from 30 to 40. The members of the Vidhan Sabha are directly elected by the people for a period of 5 years. The rules of eligibility of a voter are: universal adult franchise, comprise people of all castes, creed, and color. It indicates that any person at the age of 18 years and above can cast his vote. On the basis of universal adult franchise, the system of secret ballot is followed. In such a system, no one can judge who has voted for whom. Some seats are reserved for the members of the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Period of the Vidhan Sabha. Normally, a Vidhan Sabha is constituted for 5 years. It can, however, be dissolved earlier in the event of an emergency or a vote of no confidence against the government. Electing presiding officers. The Legislative Assembly or the Vidhan Sabha, like the Lok Sabha, elects its Speaker and Deputy Speaker in the first sitting after the elections for the functioning of the Vidhan Sabha. The Speaker of the Vidhan Sabha performs various important functions. He or she presides over the meetings of the Legislative Assembly. Resolutions or bills can be passed only with his or her permission. He or she allows time for members to speak in the Vidhan Sabha. He or she maintains discipline and decorum in the Vidhan Sabha. He or she calls for vote on bills as well as on other motions. He or she can adjourn the meetings of the Vidhan Sabha. The Vidhan Parishad or the Legislative Council. Composition of the Vidhan Parishad. The Legislative Council is the upper house in a state legislature. The Constitution has fixed the maximum strength of a legislative council as 1/3 of the total strength of the Legislative Assembly, subject to a minimum of 40. The Legislative Council is a permanent body as it cannot be dissolved. 1/3 of its members retire every 2 years and elections are held for vacant seats. The term of office of a member is 6 years. A Vidhan Parishad is a permanent house. It is not directly elected by the people, but its members are elected by various agencies in the states as follows. 1/6 of the total membership of the Vidhan Parishad is nominated by the state governor from amongst the prominent persons in the field of literature, art, science, and social service. 1/3 of the total membership of the Vidhan Parishad is elected by an electoral college consisting of the members of the municipal committees, district boards, and other local self-governments in the state. 1/12 of the total membership is elected by the teachers of 3 years standing employed in the higher secondary schools and colleges of the state. 1/12 of the total members are elected by the graduates of 3 years standing in the state. 1/3 of the total members are elected by the members of the Vidhan Sabha. Electing presiding officers. The members of the Legislative Council elect the chairman and deputy chairman from amongst themselves. The chairman is the presiding officer of the Legislative Council. In his absence, the deputy chairman conducts the proceedings. They remain in office so long as they enjoy the confidence of the majority and can be removed by a resolution passed by a majority. Powers and duties of the state legislature. The powers and functions of the state legislature are more or less similar to those of the parliament. The state legislature makes laws on the 66 subjects mentioned in the state list. It can enact laws on the 47 subjects included in the concurrent list also. But if a law passed by the state legislature runs counter to a law passed by the Union Parliament, the central law prevails. In addition to the legislative functions, the state legislatures have to perform various non-legislative functions also. Different members of the state legislature can ask questions, and the same are to be answered by the Council of Ministers. They can move a vote of no confidence against the government. They can also move adjournment motions and censure motion against the Council of Ministers. Limitations. Certain limitations have been imposed on the state legislatures. The makers of the Indian Constitution wanted that the unity of the country should in no way be subjected to any chance. Therefore, a provision has been made in the Constitution that if the governor feels that a law passed by the state legislature may prove detrimental to the national unity or is against the larger interests of the country, he can withhold his assent to such a bill and send it to the President for his approval. If the President rejects it, it is regarded as dead once for all. This position applies to all the subjects of the state list as well as of the concurrent list. Position of Legislative Assembly. The position of the State Legislative Assembly is very strong. It enjoys all the legislative powers of the state. If there is a Legislative Council also, it is very weak in comparison to the Legislative Assembly. It has control over the legislature and also on the state executive. Relations between the Vidhan Sabha and the Vidhan Parishad. The Legislative Assembly is essential for a state, while the Legislative Council is optional. In matters of exercising control over the state executive, the Legislative Council has only formal powers and has little authority in toppling the government. An ordinary bill can be introduced in the Legislative Council, but a money bill cannot be introduced in the Legislative Council. The Legislative Council can delay a bill for some time, but it cannot withhold the bill permanently. The State Executive. The State Executive consists of the Governor, the Chief Minister, and the Council of Ministers. The structure of State Executive is similar to that of the central government. The Governor. The Governor is the nominal head of the State Executive. He is appointed by the President of India for a term of 5 years, but he can be removed by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister. Eligibility of a Governor. He should be a citizen of India and at least 35 years of age. If he is a member of the Parliament or of a state legislature, he has to resign from the seat after assuming the office of the Governor. He cannot hold any office of profit under the government at any level. Powers and functions of the Governor. Like the President of India, the Governor of a state acts as a constitutional head of the state during ordinary times, but he becomes the real ruler of the state whenever the administration of the state is taken over by the President due to any cause or reason. His main powers are executive power. Governor is the constitutional head of the state. Entire administration is carried on in his name. The governor appoints the leader of the majority party in the state Vidhan Sabha as the chief minister of the state. He also appoints other members of the Council of Ministers on the recommendation of the chief minister. He appoints the Attorney General, the Advocate General, Chairman, and members of the State Public Service Commission and other officers at key positions in the state. Legislative powers. He summons, adjourns, and prorogues the sessions of the state legislature. He addresses the opening session of the Legislative Assembly. No bill can become a law without his signature. He may dissolve the state Legislative Assembly even before the expiry of 5 years in these cases, on the advice of the Chief Minister, in case there is a breakdown of constitutional machinery, or as directed by the President. During the recess of the state legislature, he can also issue ordinances. Such ordinances must be ratified by the state legislature within 6 weeks from the date of the beginning of its next session, or they die of their own accord. He causes the annual budget of the state to be presented in the Vidhan Sabha. No money bill can be introduced in the Vidhan Sabha without the prior approval of the governor, the chief minister, and the Council of Ministers. The leader of the majority party is appointed as the chief minister of the state by governor of the state. If there is no party having a clear majority, a coalition government may be formed. The chief minister forms a council of ministers, in which the governor has no choice of his own. Position of the chief minister. The chief minister is the real head of the state executive. The governor simply acts on the chief minister's advice in matters of selecting his ministers amongst the members of his party in Vidhan Sabha. The chief minister presides over the meetings of the Council of Ministers. He is a link between the governor and the Council of Ministers. He coordinates the working of various departments and the ministries. He is the chief spokesman of his government. He announces the policies and programs of his government. The Council of Ministers comprises 3 categories of ministers, viz. Cabinet Ministers, Ministers of State, and the Deputy Ministers. The Chief Minister and other ministers have the responsibility of running various government departments or ministries. They have separate offices. The Cabinet Ministers hold independent charge of various departments. They are assisted by Ministers of State and Deputy Ministers. The Council of Ministers work as a team. It is responsible for all acts of commission and omission. If a vote of no confidence is against a minister, all ministers are held responsible collectively to the legislature, and all of them have to resign. The ministers work on the principle of collective responsibility. If a vote of no confidence is passed against it, the government has to resign. Powers and functions of the Chief Minister. The main powers and functions of the Chief Minister of a state are: formation of ministry. The Chief Minister is required to form his ministry. He prepares a list of his colleagues whom he wants to include in the Council of Ministers and submits it to the governor, who appoints all the ministers as per the list. Appointment. All appointments to high offices in the state are made by the governor on the advice of the Chief Minister. Coordination amongst the ministers. The Chief Minister keeps a watch on the working of the ministers and gives them guidelines and advice on routine matters. Removal of minister. If the Chief Minister is not satisfied with the working of a minister, he can ask him to go. The Chief Minister can reshuffle his cabinet at any time. Presides over the meetings of the Council of Ministers. No minister dares to oppose the views of the Chief Minister. Link between the governor and the Council of Ministers. The decisions of the Council of Ministers are communicated to the governor through the Chief Minister. power to dissolve the Legislative Assembly. The Chief Minister can advise the Governor to dissolve the Legislative Assembly before the expiry of its term and order fresh state administration. Different departments. A uniform administrative setup has been established for the unity and integrity of the country in each state and the Union Territory. State Secretariat. Each state has its own legislature. The head of the state is the Governor. The political head of the state is the Chief Minister. The Chief Minister is the head of the Council of Ministers. Each member of the Council of Ministers looks after a particular department or a combination of departments. There are different departments which deal with education, construction of roads, transport and communication, water, health and sanitation, law and order, land reforms and irrigation, etc. The bureaucrats or the government officers manage the affairs of these departments under the overall charge of the concerned ministers. The bureaucratic head of each department is called a secretary. A secretary generally belongs to the Indian Administrative Service, IAS. The selection and appointment is made by the Union Public Service Commission, located at Delhi. A secretary also acts as the advisor to the minister on all matters of importance, including policy and administrative matters of the department. Over all the secretaries, there is the Chief Secretary, who supervises all the departments. The office of the Chief Secretary is known as the Secretariat. The minister's offices are also generally located in the Secretariat. A large retinue of officers, ranking downward from Secretary, Additional Secretary, Joint Secretary, Deputy Secretary, Under Secretary, Administrative Officers, Section Officers, Assistants, Upper Division Clerks, Lower Division Clerks, Daftaris, and other service staff work in the Secretariat to carry out the work of the government. The public servants are called bureaucrats because they have to serve the people. It is the duty of the people to cooperate with these civil servants so that they are able to perform their job smoothly and efficiently. The people in power, like the Chief Minister and the ministers, have to take action during the important situations. They do so through various departments like Public Works Department, Agriculture Department, Health Department, Education Department, and so on. They also have to answer questions that are asked in the Legislative Assembly and convince people who ask questions regarding the proper steps being taken. At the same time, newspapers and media widely discuss the issue and the government has to respond. For example, by holding press conferences. The government can also decide to make new laws for the state regarding sanitation and health facilities. For example, it may make it compulsory for municipal corporations to ensure that there are adequate toilets in every urban area. It may also ensure that a health worker is appointed in every village. This act of making laws on certain issues is done in the Legislative Assembly of each state. The various government departments then implement these laws. Laws for the entire country are made in the Parliament. In a democracy, it is the people who elect their representatives as members of the Legislative Assembly, MLAs, and thus it is the people who have the main authority.